Alright guys, this is wow, what a day. So today BBMT came in the room and MT and her did a nice little duet. So basically she was nice enough to tell us pretty exactly actually how she trades, and I learned a lot from that, and I thought we'd share this from what I've learned from here from the session today. So this will be like part one out of like part, I don't know how many wherever I make. Maybe I make like 3. Then this is part one, just to keep the videos shorter and to keep it more simple. So um, basically today we're gonna talk about floating candles and penetration candles. Okay. Um, yeah, I know. Basically, so what we will learn today is floating candles when above the orange. This is orange, by the way, not brown. Orange road. So let me give an example. Let's see if this will be a good example. Sorry, give me 1 sec. Okay, so there. Okay, so full screen. Yeah. Okay, so what on earth is a floating candle? Okay, a floating candle is a candle that doesn't touch the bands and it doesn't touch the road over here. Okay, so basically right here we have a floating candle. Right. So actually I'll give you an example that we're doing right now. From over here. Okay, so here we have a floating candle to the downside. Now, how do you know if it's going to be down or up? That's the easiest part, right? So if the candle is above, if it's floating above the orange road, that means it's going to come down. Alright, so it's not touching the bands and it's not touching the orange road. That means it's going to be a floating candle. Alright, and if it's above the orange road, clearly means it's going to be going down for some more. Alright, so that's kind of what we talked about in the video. So I'll just give you an example over here. We have very simple. Let me go to my circles. Okay, so here is a floating candle. Here is a floating candle, and over here is also a floating candle, right? And over here, right? Hope that comes out dark enough. Yeah. Okay, so basically the floating candle is above, is not touching the orange or not touching the Bebe bands at all. Alright, if it's above the orange road, then that means it's going to come down. As you can see here, right, it's above the orange road, it's going to come down. Over here it's below, right, so it didn't touch the BB bands and it didn't touch the orange road, right, and clearly that sucker went up. Okay. Boom. Right, shoots up to the moon, and then obviously here it most likely would have gone down, right? See? Alright, so that's what a floating candle is, right? Basically, when it's above the orange road and it's not touching the BB bands and it's not touching the orange road, that means it's gonna come down, right? So that's what a floating candle is. We're gonna go through a few examples over here, just in terms of how to use them and when they're best used. So I'll go full screen. Oh, I am full screen. Alright, let's give you an example from over here. So Let me find you a perfect example, and then I can talk you through why this happened. Alright, so over here we have very clear a floating candle. Right? Now, just because you see one doesn't automatically mean you can take it down. Alright, like it's a good guide, right? Over here, also a floating candle, right? To the downside, to the downside, to the downside. This one touched, I think. And okay, if this didn't touch the bands, this would be a floating candle to the upside. Alright? So basically, Mike, how do you take this floating candle and how do you integrate it with everything else that you see? Because Bebe talks about you have to look at absolutely every single chart, and you have to be aware of what's happening. Okay, so it's kind of like finding a bias. Well, it is like finding a bias. It's anticipating, saying, do I think this is going to come down more, or do I think it's going to just keep going up? All right, and there's a few indications that we're going to use just to kind of help us out. So over here we have a floating candle to the downside, right? Over here we have a floating candle to the downside too. Also on the daily, that's really hard to see, but it's also a floating candle to the downside, right? So we have that all in play. Excuse me. We have that all in play. Now we're gonna just take a look at the situation here. Okay, because if you've watched the previous videos of how to trade like Bebe, then you want to see that that has to do with the direction of the orange road and the last candle. Alright, so last arrow, I mean. So basically, to find the bias, we're gonna look at this. Right? Because you need to know the bias before you can even integrate any of this. Right? It just doesn't make sense if you try otherwise. Okay. So here, the direction of the orange road is what we're going to look at. So from here to here, that's pointing up. It's very, very clear. Just from this dot to this dot, that's all you're looking for, right? So halfway through this candle, it's lower than it was up to here. Alright, so that's pointing up. But what's our last arrow? Our last arrow is pointing down. What does that mean? That means you can trade up and down. Alright? So, that gives us a bit of a confirmation that, hey look, we have a floating candle in play, we can take this down. Not only that, but you are very close to the Bebe bands on the 15-minute and very close to the Bebe bands on the 4-hour. Okay, the previous one. Alright, so when you take all this into consideration, you have to realize that we have a floating arrow and we can look for downs. But keep in mind we can also look for ups because the road is pointing up. Now, because it's closer to the 4-hour orange road and it's closer to this Bebe band, we're looking for downs, right? So now when you get really good, you can take it up off this band. That would have been over 3 pips to the upside, right? So anyways, we're going to take this down because we have a floating arrow. It's candle, sorry, floating candle. Alright, so take it down. Alright, takes a little bit, but it goes down. Also, we have another floating candle with an arrow, which is really nice. Alright, so we have another floating candle out of one. We had one over here, but it's gone now. 1, 2, 3 floating candles. Alright, and they're all to the downside because they're all above the orange road. Right, above the orange road, above the orange road, and above the orange road. Alright, so basically what we're going to do here is you're still looking for downs. Alright, what's our trend bias? the bias is pointing up. This line, orange road, is pointing up, but the last arrow was a down. And obviously right here, the last arrow here is down too. So permission to take it up and down. Obviously we're still looking for the downs because it makes more sense. So, but keep in mind it gives you permission to go both ways, right? It's okay. It's kind of hard to explain until I kind of go through the whole thing. So I'm just, you know what? I'm gonna do that instead. We're gonna go through absolutely everything before I start trying to say trades here, because it's just, you have to know about this and about the, okay, so just, we're gonna go through every single thing that matters, and then we're gonna go to then we'll do some examples, okay? But so floating candles and penetration candles, or penetrating candles, okay, whatever you want to call it, or piercing candles, right? So basically, what on earth is a, let's do gray. So what on earth is a penetrating candle? Penetrating candle is when it closes closes above the Bebe bands on any time frame, right? Closes, very important, it closes, because that's a whole different story if it doesn't close. Closes below or above the Bebe bands. So what does this mean? So if this closes above, that's telling us it's got a lot more to go up, okay? And if it closes below, then that means it's got a lot more going down, right? So, oh crap. Let me go back. Candles, green. Alright, so closes above, that means it's going to go up. Red. Closes, one sec. Below, that means it's going to go down more. Alright, let's give you a few examples. Alright, so it's actually a ton of examples. Closes above, boom. 15, 20 pips right there. Closes above, boom. Alright? Let's have a look here. Oh, that's too far. Closes above, boom. Okay? Same thing with below. Let's have a look. Go back to over here. And below, let's have a look. Closes below. Alright. Closes below. Oopsies. Alright, and boom. There you go. Closes below again. You even got some more. Alright, so. Alright. It eventually does. One sec. There. Alright, so you got your more there. Closes below. Alright, just basically when it closes below, that means it's got more to the downside or to the upside. Alright, so let's go to the next thing. How do I clear this whole thing? There should be like a clear buttons. I don't use this too often. Let's go new. No. Okay, so we have the penetration candles and we have the floating candles. Alright, that's very important to know. Now we need to talk about different time frames, and then we need to talk about what on earth this means. Alright, that's the gold road, by the way. And here's the orange road. It's gonna look a little more like this. You know, maybe some news, okay, something good happened. Well, that was weird. And back up we go. Okay, so basically, what we need to understand is, let's go to candles. Let's go to red. All right. Yeah. Okay. So basically, what you're gonna want to do is, whenever something you're gonna realize is whenever the candles bounce off the gold and sometimes even the orange road. Actually, a lot of the times the orange road. It's a very important indication whether it's going to go up and down. Right? So here we have a bounce. Let's go green. Right, so go green. boom, right? And oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah, there we go. So boom. Okay, it bounces off the gold line, and there you go, 30 pips right there. Okay, so let me just give you a few examples. Most of the time, what you're gonna look at for that is this, 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 sometimes this, but mostly here and here, here and here, and here and here. Okay, so you're probably asking, what on earth are you talking about? Well, let me give you an example. Alright, so here we have the GU. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to create our own little support and resistance, or just our very own, right? So the very highest I think this can go is up to here, until other arrows say so otherwise. Okay, so that's my first resistance. Alright, here's my second resistance, and here's my third. Alright, they're kind of all at the same price. This is 1.3445. I can't tell on earth what this is here. 445, 446. Okay, so it's it's close. Okay, so my point being is, this is going to be our resistance line, meaning we think it's going to go up all the way till this line, all the way to this line, all the way to that line, unless we get other arrows saying otherwise. Okay, why? Very simple. The arrow's pointing up, and the 50-minute road is clearly going up. And over here you have a floating candle as well, but never mind that. We have excuse me. Sorry. Okay, so we have a bias, and a bias is up. Our bias is up because the road's pointing up and the 50-minute arrow's pointing up as well. Okay, you have now this much space before we think it's going to go up higher, or until we get arrows pointing down. So basically what I'm saying is, as long as there's 3 pips from here to here, you can take this up. Okay, until otherwise. Okay, so it goes up. Let's see how high it goes. Does it hit the line? And alright, it's pretty close to that line. It's hit this line. It has not hit this line yet, but it's hitting the bands. This is now telling us, wait. Okay, this is telling us, okay, slow down here. I wouldn't take any more trades up unless we get screaming momentum, another arrow, or something else saying go up. Okay, but right now, basically, we're maybe getting out of a trade, or we're still waiting on the situation. So here, look, we get an arrow pointing up. Okay, it kind of goes away, goes up a little higher, and then we get this. What on earth is this? You're probably thinking. Okay, this is fantastic. Okay, it's because here we have a floating arrow to the downside. Okay, it's not touching the bands. It's not touching the bands at all. It's not touching, or barely, and it's not touching the road. We have a arrow pointing down, a pink red actually, pointing down on the 5-minute. Okay, it's very close to our resistance line, and we're gonna have a floating arrow over here. Okay, so that turns into stupid pink. This is already looking really good. So basically, we want to take that down. Okay, but why on earth are we taking this down? Momentum and DX are in play. You have that close to a floating arrow, but you have this also in play. You have this in play, but even, or very, very importantly, it's very close to this line as well. Alright, this is our first resistance. This is our secondary resistance. Alright, so this is telling us, okay, look, it's time to go down. We can go back up later, but right now we just need to look for some downs. Okay. Excuse me. So we're gonna look for downs. We take it down, right? And that now obviously it's bouncing back and forth. Why is that happening? Because the road is pointing up. The last arrow is down. And that's giving us permission to go up and down. So as long as it's not too close to this resistance level or this resistance level or this resistance level, okay, you can obviously take it back up off of the roads here, like jazz fan style. Okay, we have a floating arrow over here to the upside because it's not touching the bands and that's not touching the orange road, and it's below the orange road. So this is giving us permission to go both up and down. It's not too close to the resistance line. Okay, it's not too close to resistance. We got lots of space. Let's take it back up. So this is taking it up, right? So then you would have taken it up. Now, here's a little more fun. So we have a floating arrow here. We have a floating arrow over here. Alright. And we have our down and up, giving us permission to go up and down. It's getting closer to the resistance level over here. It's touching the Bebe bands over here. So what are we going to do? I fancy it down. Right? And look what happened, okay? Right back down. What we're going to do is we're just going to go through all of GU right now, and hopefully this will make sense. We're really hoping this makes sense. I understand if it doesn't at first, okay? But let's just hang on. So, what's the bias saying? We have one down, it's still pointing up. That's giving us permission to go up and down, okay? Where's our support and where's our resistance? You should always be asking yourself this question. Always, okay? Support's over here, resistance over here. Support's over here, resistance over here. Support is over here, alright? Even a little bit of support here, we'll go through that. That's so much to go over. Support over here, support over here, support over here of this orange road. So we have all these supports here. That's why it bounced back up for a little bit, okay? And if you're quick, you could have taken that back up. Why? Support was over here, okay? So it's touching this line, and touching this line. You had a floating arrow, you could have taken that up. That's way more than 3 pips, right? And times that by 4, that's 12 pips in just a matter of seconds. This is why the floating arrows are a killer, in a good way, right? Okay, let's keep going. So, now, you just took your 12 pips here. Where's your resistance levels? Very, very easy. Resistance, 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 resistance. Okay, it's all very, very soon. What's going to get us in a down? You have a few options here. Because this is pointing down, a bias is down and up. So maybe you want to wait for it to go up a little higher, then you can take it off the bands, or you said, you know what, I'm taking it down. Alright, maybe you want a floating arrow. We get our floating arrow. Momentum is changing, the X is changing, I'm in for a down. I don't care if this trade loses. I think it's still a great trade to take to the downside. Let's take it. Boom. Okay, down it goes. Now here's what you're probably asking. Why on earth are we not going to take this back up? Okay, look at our bias. Our bias has changed. Down arrow is the last arrow, plus the road is pointing down. Okay, so do I fancy an up here? Not really. Alright, there's like my support is here, my support is here, my support is here, and my support is here. Alright, so basically, maybe if you get really good, I know we have a floating arrow, okay, you can take this up if you're, once you're really good, but just for simple reasons, I'm not going to take this up. Alright, I'll look for more downs off of this band. Off the resistance is over here, resistance and resistance. I'm going to take a look at your resistance too. Where's your resistance? Resistance is off this band, resistance and resistance. Right? So from here to here, is that 3 pips? And is it worth it? Right? So maybe you say yes, maybe you say no, I say no, and I'm going to take this down. Our bias is down. It's touched the orange line. Okay, resistance is here, support, resist. Okay, so, alright, so maybe you did take that up, maybe you would have won. Obviously you would have won because you're floating arrows and your supports. Okay, I didn't take that down. Didn't fancy it down. I'm looking for downs. So I didn't take it up, I fancy it down. Floating arrow, I'm in again. Okay, so my second trade I'm in for down. Alright, resistance off this because it's pointing down, resistance, alright, and a floating arrow to the downside because it's not, oh, it is touching the bands, my bad, so it's not really a floating arrow. We're going to pretend this is a floating arrow, okay? I know it's touching the bands, but it's not touching this band, it's touching the orange road, barely. Let's pretend it wasn't, that would be a down, okay? And you could have gone in for down. So resistance, your resistance, your resistance, and resistance. Right? So I'm fancying down, down I go. Right? And I think Bebe would have, I'm sure Bebe would have taken that up and then back down. Okay, but just for simplicity's sakes, we're gonna stick to the bias. And yeah, alright, let's keep going. Okay, so now what do? Always look for your support and your resistance, okay? Support, resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance, okay? Support, resistance. Over here is resistance, okay? So what do I think is going to happen? I think it's going to come back up just a little bit, hit off the bands, then come back down. That's my prediction. The question is it worth going up? Alright, so is it worth going up? That's up to you. But because bias is pretty strong to the downside, I'm just going to look for downs. That's it. Alright? So looking for more downs. So either flash of momentum or any excuse to go down. I'm in for a down. If it flashes of momentum, I'm in, and it hit the 50-minute line. That's our support. That's our support. Support. Okay? All the support's happening right now. Guess what else you got? You're gonna have a bounce. Why? It's hitting support. You have a kind of a floating arrow over here, right? Excuse me. Didn't have my tea this morning. So it's hitting all the support, and you're going, okay, well now what, right? So basically, we have, do we think it's going to go lower, or do we think it's going to bounce back up and then come down? Well, it's hitting support. We're not going to take it down here. We're only going to take it down lower if we get permission from momentum and DX, and if it breaks through. Alright, that's the only situation when we take it lower. So right now, what I'm going to do, because our bias is clearly down, the road's pointing down from here to here, okay, kind of flat there. Yeah, that's flat, and the last arrow is down, so I'm just going to look for more downs. So any excuse to take this down, I'm going to take it down. But obviously, it did hit support lines, and you could have taken that up as well. But just for simplicity's sakes, we're going to take this down, right? Once it hits our resistance levels. Again, where the heck is the resistance level? Resistance is here, off, because it's pointing down. Resistance is here. Resistance is here. So this is entry for down, 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 and entry for a down. Once it touches this, entry for down if the bias stays the same. Entry for down, okay? Where's the support? We're very close to support. We're like touching support right now, so we're going to take it up. But for simplicity's sakes, we're just looking for down. So, let's keep going. So look, it goes up. Okay, our bias is still down, so we can take this down. Okay. Alright, off a BB band. Okay, you can take that down again if you like. Resistance is over here. It's touching resistance over here. Resistance, resistance, resistance. So we're getting very close to resistance. Resistance. Okay. So entry for down, entry for down. Okay. Entry for another down if you want to. Now, our bias has changed. We have permission to go up and down. Okay. Obviously, we're still in downs because we took it down. So basically what we think here is the very highest we think it could go is to this line over here, to this line over here, to this line over here or to this line over here. Alright, so what do you need? We have a floating arrow. This is pointing up, this is pointing up. So as long as you get a good price over here, you can take that up. But right now, just for simplicity's sakes, we're going to stay for a down because it's we already took downs, okay? So we took our downs and down it went. Alright? And why didn't we take it up? I mean, it could have, but my point being is it's too close to the resistance over here, it's close to the resistance over here and to here. So if you were going to take this up, you would have had to been quick. And keep in mind there's actually quite a few pips in these candles, but I think Bebe would have just looked for downs, okay? So, alright, it's like touching off the road here, look for downs. So we did our downs, that's already in play. Now what do we do? Alright, so it goes down, you can take it down off all these charts there. Alright, so again, support, support, support. It's kind of hard to see. Support, okay? Support, support. It's hitting all these support lines. Right? When it's hitting all the support lines, and if momentum gives you permission, you can take it up. Here's what I mean. Let's give you a live demo example. This isn't the floating candle, I know, but it's hitting the support, hitting support, hitting support. Okay, this is quite visual, I think. Then you can take it up, right? Okay, you go up, and right here, our bias has changed. This is giving you permission to go up here and down over here. Alright, so you got best of both worlds. Alright, so basically, resistance is over here. We're always looking at this, guys. Where's resistance? Where's support? You should always be looking for this, okay? Resistance, 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 support, 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 okay? So, what's the situation right now? The bias is up and down, giving us permission to do both. What do I want before I'm going to take this up? Momentum, or it could touch off this support here because it's pointing up. So if it touches off this, we can go up, okay? Or just because of this support, we would have taken that up as well. So you're in for an up, okay? Here, you're in for an up, okay? Went up, alright? But keep in mind, we're still biased up and down, right? Where's the resistance? Where's the support? That's you're always asking yourself this question, guys. Resistance here. Resistance is over here. Resistance. Resistance. We're very close to resistance. I like this for a down, right? Why? Because it's touching the resistance here. Touching resistance here. It's the same price as that resistance. Touching resistance over here. We're taking this down, right? Okay, and keep in mind stop loss 15, take profit 3. So if you still keep in mind the resistance is over here, you also have resistance here and here. So if you think it's going to keep going up, then you could have taken a few more to the upside and then take it down. But because my story is down and up, I took that down. I could have taken it back up off the lines as well. But right, okay. So momentum and DX switch are switching. We have a 5 in play. We have a floating candle on the 5 minute. This is pointing down. This is pointing up. So giving us permission to go up and down. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Okay, resistance, resistance. Support, support, support. Okay. What are we gonna do? I'm still in my down trade, I'm still in it, okay? And obviously that down trade would have won. Now why on earth is this happening? Okay, why did this just shoot down? Let me show you something that Bebe, well, not, let Bebe show you something that she was explaining. So floating candles, super important, I think, because if you can really nail down these floating candles, I think you're going to be set. It's really something spectacular. So we have a floating candle here pointing to the downside. What does that mean? It's not touching the band, it's not touching the orange road. That means it's giving us permission to go down. Why the heck are we going to take this down? It's close to resistance. Our bias is down and up over here. Resistance is way over here. Support is here. Resistance, resistance. Okay, it's close enough to resistance where excuse me, where we can take it down. So if I take it down and it goes up to here, that's going to be less than 15 pips, right? If I take it down and it's go up to here, that's less than 15 pips, meaning, so even if it does go up, it won't stop me out, right? Whew. Okay, so you can just imagine how tired Bebe gets after a little bit of this. Alright, so momentum kicks in, you can notice go again. Bias is still down and up. Now our bias is pretty strong to the downside. Right? So what's going to get me in for another down trade? Well, flash momentum. Keep in mind we're close to support, 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 okay, but it's busting through with a crazy amount of momentum in DX. So we're going to leave that alone for more to the downside. Of course, if you want to take that down to support and then cancel a trade, then take it back up, you could have done it also. That's how Bebe trades the GU. Now to the EU, right? So here we go again. Okay, hope you guys are ready. Okay, so we're gonna count the what's it called now? I just forgot it. We're gonna count the floating and the piercing, or I forgot the other word. Anyways, piercing and floating situations. So what's the bias first of all? The bias is up. Why is it up? This is kind of hard to see, but it's pointing up. Last arrow is up. Right? So the bias is up. Where the heck is support and resistance? Resistance, 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 resistance. Okay? Where's support? Support's over here, support's over here because it's pointing up. Support, 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 support. Even support over here. Okay? Now we're going to take all this thing into consideration. We have now looking for floating candles. Floating candle over here, alright, to the downside, and we have floating candle to the upside, and we have piercing to the downside over here, so that means it's going to go down. And so we have, okay, a little bit saying go down, a little bit saying go up, but we're going to be looking for times to go up. Okay, why on earth? Because this is a steering wheel, Bebe says. Okay, you have now this saying go up. This is pointing up. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Resistance level. It hits all the way to resistance level. Okay. Now you take it up. All right. Now what's happening? This is quite interesting. Resistance. Resistance. Resistance, resistance, resistance. I'm going to take this down. Okay? Because our bias has changed. We have a down arrow. It's pointing up, giving us permission to take it up and down because the arrow is pointing down. Whew. Floating, that's not a floating, sorry, it's not a floating candle. It could become a floating candle. Let's maybe wait for a floating candle before we take it down, or for momentum in DX. So I took it down kind of around here. Alright, it's in the green. Okay, and then it won. Alright, now why the heck did this go down? Let's go over it again. The bias has changed. We have a down arrow, meaning giving us permission to trade down and up. Resistance, 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 supports over here, supports over here, supports over here, supports over here. This will break, and supports over here. The point being, I'm always saying support and resistance is because let me breathe. From here to here is more than 3 pips. From here, even from here to here is more than 3 pips. From here, the support to here is more than 3 pips. Alright? Way more than 3 pips. We're going to take it down because it's more than 3 pips. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? Even when, oh, this is perfect, guys. This is perfect. It went down, hit support over here, the support line, hit support because it's pointing up, that's support. Support's over here, so it's not really hitting it, but one of my favorites, we're going to see a floating, no, we don't see a floating candle, but anyways, hit support, we're going to take it up. Why are we taking this up? The direction is pointing up, giving us permission to go up. Excuse me. The last arrow is pointing down, giving us permission to go up and down. Where's resistance? Resistance is over here. Resistance, 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 support, support. It's hitting off supports right now though. So we're going to take it up. I am going to have no voice by the end of this. Okay. So, what on earth is happening now? Okay? Let me tell you. The bias is still up and down. We have momentum going to the downside. Okay, so obviously it's pretty choppy right now. But the point being is it's up and down. What are we going to do? I think I'm going to take trades to the downside. Once it's hit resistance, 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 then I'll take it down. Okay? Or if we get a floating arrow. So let's see what happens. We don't get a floating arrow. Let's check our resistance again. Resistance, 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 support is over here. It's very close. Support's over here. Support, support. So it's quite close together. But now we get a 4-1 to the downside with momentum NDX. Alright, so this is kind of overpowering the down. So I'm going to take it down, okay? We got a pretty good price. I'm happy with the down. Alright, and it went right down. Now, holy smokes, why did this go down? Why did this go up? Very, very easy. Let me breathe. This went up. Very simple, okay? Because it's hitting support. It's hitting our support because this is pointing up, giving us permission to go up and down. Support's over here, it's not hitting it, but point being is it hits supports over here and here. Take it for an up. And boom, you could have taken that for an up. Now, I'm a bit more biased to the downside due to the fact that we have a 4-1 to the downside. Wait for momentum in DX, and you probably could have gone in for down. So, but what's the bias over here? Down and up, giving us permission to trade down and up. And obviously, you would have won that up trade for way more than 3 pips. Resistance, 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 resistance. It's touching resistance over here. It's touching over here. It's got a bit more to over here. Now, I'm taking this down. Okay? Why? Because, oh shoot. Okay, why? Because it's very close to the resistance lines. Keep in mind, some of you may be thinking I'm cheating, but I know this happened today, but I actually even forget what happened today. So, everything that I'm telling you is actually by what Bebe is saying, not just by me going over here, go, oh yeah, went down or up. Okay? This is all basically live. Okay, and I'll even make like a live video. How do you call it now? Showing you a bit more precise how I trade it, how Bebe trades it. I mean, and yeah, we'll go. Then there's more proof. All right, so support, supports past support. All right, I'll bet you she'll be taking this up if momentum index slow down. All right. Oopsies. Okay, so why on earth did we take this up? It touched support, I take it up. It touched support, I'm taking this up. It went against me, but I took it up, okay? Even better, extra confirmation, third support, I'm in. Fourth support, I'm in. 1, 2, 3, 4 supports, I'm in. Why? Because our bias was up and down. Now our bias is just down, but I'm already in the up. So, okay, I'm taking this more up, okay? So now because our bias is down, so I'm in my up trades, I took another up trade over here, this one, this is maybe in the green, okay, maybe I want to get out. Why do I fancy this for a down? I fancy this for a down because resistance, okay? It's touching these resistance lines, okay? And maybe you want to wait for momentum to just come down a little more, okay? But regardless, she would 100% would have taken that down, I think, right? So you take that down, and this is just crazy. So you take this down, and obviously hits resistance levels, and this is what she meant in the session today. I believe so, at least. Is she says she takes multiple times, believing in her story. So we have a bias up and down, meaning she'll take it up and down. Basically, what I mean by that is she's taking it down here. She took it down off this level. She'll take it down off this level if it ever went up that high. She took it off this level down. She took it maybe 3-4 times, times 4 down. Right, so now I completely forgot to mention why she took this up. Sorry guys, I did fast forward there. My biggest apologies. She took it back up because it hit support, hit support, hit support, hit support. That's 4 supports in a row with the bias being up and down. Okay? Now we're looking for more downs. This is nuts. Okay, so 1 down, 2 down, 3 down, oh sorry, resistance, resistance, resistance. I'm gonna want to wait this. My bias is down and up. It's 3 pips till support, I think. So from here to here, it's 3 pips to support. So I can take that down and win again. This is nuts, Bebe. Absolutely insane. Right, Bebe? Very super thankful to have you showing this to us. Okay. Amazing. Okay. How long is this video? I don't want to keep it waiting too long. 47 minutes. Okay, we're gonna keep going. Oh, we're not even halfway done the session on the EU. Okay. Get comfy. Okay, so now what are we doing? Are we going to take it up? Yes, because we took it up over here because of the fact that the bias is up and down, due to the fact that the orange road's pointing down, and the last arrow is up. Okay? So your secondary up, it's bouncing off support, bouncing off support, bouncing off support. Okay, and look at that. Right? Back up it went. Now, I'm going to tell you something. We probably lost the first trade. Let me just confirm. Let's go look back to see if we were lost. Okay, so let me just show you what we just did here. It's touching support. It's touching support. Okay, so when it's touching all the support levels, you can take it up. And actually, that might have been more than 3 pips because we had a floating candle here as well. Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty sure that's more than 3 pips. The level here is 84, 82. Yeah, that's definitely more than 3 pips. Okay, so sorry, my bad. You would have won this one. And then resistance, resistance. We have bias up and down, resistance, resistance. Okay. Personally, I would not have taken that down until I saw momentum index in play. So resistance is over here, momentum index are going nuts. my bias is up and down. As long as it's 3 pips from support, I'll take it down. And it was, and boom, right? Went down. Also, you have a 1 down, 2 down, 3 down with a trend. Okay, so another indication. This is nuts. Even another up here I could have taken. So, how do you know if it's going to break through or if it's going to bounce? A big part of that is your bias over here, but another big part is, does it close below the bands? Here it closes below, here it closes below, here it bounces off, and here it bounces off, okay? And here it closes below. So basically, when it closes below, that's giving you confirmation that's got more to the downside. And actually, I think the UJ is the best example for this. So, how do I show you guys on the UJ? Where can I show you? Okay, here, I found one. Where does it cap off? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, good. So over here, it's closed above, right? It's closed above. We're having a great time. It's closing above this over here. Okay, closed above. Great time. Just a fantastic time we're having. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Up you go. How do you know when it's time to maybe say, okay, reversal's coming in play? That's when you start seeing the wicks. Now it's important, the wicks below the resistance. Let me show you over here, okay? New. Don't save. Bebe bands are purple. Let's go this one. Alright, so here you have your Bebe bands, right? And then maybe. Alright, let me make this quick so that we don't end up being here forever. Sorry guys. Boom. Alright, so anyways, here the candle closes below. Where was it? Oh yeah, the wicks, that's right. So we're on an uptrend, having a great time, and guess what happens? I gotta use my imagination for this one. It's a green candle, yeah. So here's our candle. Boom, we have a wick, and that's a nice big juicy candle. Boom, it's got 2 wicks because it's a nice candle, right? So what's happening here is it's closed below the BB bands, okay? It's closed below, clearly, because the green candle closed below. What that's telling us is on the 5 and 15, this is telling us, okay, look out. I think it's time to come down, right? We have a down arrow. Now, my main point here is look for these situations on the 5 and 15. 5 and 15, they're happening. Not only that, but we're getting arrows pointing down. Excuse me, guys. I got a bad throat. So it's closed above, meaning we can go up for some more, and then this happened. It closes below. It closes below. This is telling us, okay, we've had enough for the upside, and we're going to start taking this down. Okay. So let me show you where we would have started taking this down. We started taking this down actually pretty close to here. So resistance, resistance, resistance. Okay, resistance, and we have a floating candle to the downside. So you take that down. When are you going to take this back up? Usually we're going to take this back up over here. Usually, right? But it didn't close. It didn't close, right? Okay, we got now a down arrow over here. Alright, so maybe you say, maybe I'm not going to take this down. Okay? This is called a waiting game. Okay? excuse me. Our bias is up pretty clearly, but we have these situations where it didn't close above. Okay, so how do you take what you see here and go, what am I going to do with this? This is resistance, this is support. This is resistance, this is support. Support, 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 resistance. Okay? Resistance, resistance. It's hitting off the resistance lines, as you can see. Okay? The question is it closer to, is it 3 pips from support? So is it 3 pips? So let's go back. Is this 3 pips from support? Support's over here, support's over here. So maybe you say, okay, I'm just going to wait this out because I don't feel comfortable taking this up or down. I'm going to wait for a better situation. Look what happens. Your bias changes. This giving you permission to go up and down. Right? Resistance, resistance. Is it 3 pips from support? Yes. 3 pips from support? Yes. Yes. Definitely yes. Okay? What are we going to do? We're going to take this down. Why? We have a yellow pink in play. One of Bebe's favorites. Oh, sorry for that. And we take this down. Yellow pinks in play, pinks in play. We have now a 4-1 to the downside. Okay, a confirmed reversal. Okay? Look at that. Hits off support, bounces right back. This is nuts. Okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to take this down. But if you want to take it down at the best price, resistance, 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 okay? So maybe you wanted to wait for this to come back up. You can do that too. And then you take it down. We have a floating candle. Alright? We have still permission to take this down. Hitting resistance, and boom. Okay, it goes down. Right? Now, remember before, how do you know if you're going to take it off support or not? Very good question. Well, what is our bias? Our bias is up and down. Okay? So, obviously, that means you can take it back up too. So it's hitting support, support, and support, and support. So it's past 4 supports. 1 support, 2 supports, 3, and 4. Okay, that's enough to get me in for an up. Most importantly, it's 3 pips from resistance, more than 3 pips. But I'm still looking for downs because it's the 4-1 square to the downside. But my point being is we have permission to go take that up. Okay. So now it hits off this resistance. We're still very biased to the downside. We can take this down, and down you would have gone. Alright, look, it's happening so many times. Support, 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 support. We have not a floating candle, but it's close. So you could take that back up again. Alright, take it right back up. Just insane because our bias is saying up and down. Taking off the support levels, we still do have a 1 down, 2 down, 3 down. Actually no, we have a 2 down. Anyways, so you took it off support and you would have won. Definitely would have won. Okay? Whew. Okay, what's a bias? A bias is clearly up. But it's right off the resistance. Right off the resistance levels. So I'm not going to take this up. Are you kidding? It has to be 3 pips. If this was 3 pips from resistance, then I take it up. Okay? It's not. So that's when Bebe takes it down, obviously, because it's off resistance. Personally, I would have waited. My preference is I would have waited and waited for permission to take this down without a direction pointing down or an arrow. Okay? Just to keep it simple. Because see what happens. That's why I didn't take it down. Still very strong bias to the upside. Okay, it's 1 up, 2 up, 3 up with a trend when this is still closed above. So when can I take this up? We have support, support, and support. 1 up, meaning we can go up here. We can take it off of here. We can take it off of here. So it's enough saying go up. and I would have taken that up. So let me show you. It touches. It touches. Okay, it's 3 pips from resistance. It's still a very strong trend to the upside. Okay, up. Now, we had to wait for 3 pips to resistance. Obviously, our resistance is kind of nowhere. Our resistance would be right here at this extreme moment because there is no resistance. So I'm waiting for this to come down 3 pips, then take it back up. So it comes down 3 pips, okay, and if you fancy taking that back up because you have permission, then you could have taken that right back up. This is absolutely crazy, Bebe. Man. Okay? So let me show you something. But the bias has now changed. Guys, biggest apologies, I'm losing my throat. Bias has changed. We have a down, it's pointing up. Okay? What's this mean? We can take this down and up. We have a floating arrow, it's close to resistance. I'm fancying this for down, okay? Why? Because let's support, resistance, resistance. Past resistance over here. Whew. I'm taking this for a down, okay? So I take that for a down over here. That's more than 3 pips. Now, when you take this back for an up, personally we have a 4, 1 down, 2 down, 3 down. Not yet a 4, 1 down. I'm waiting to take this up later. Okay, not yet. Hitting off support, then we can take it up. Okay, so example is, well, now you have a 4, 1 down. Let me just go back. Okay, so you're probably wondering, why didn't we take this down? Okay, oh sorry, why didn't we take this up? It's pointing up, last arrow is down. Support, we're on support. Okay, on support. You could have taken this up. I bet you that was more than 3 pips. How volatile that was. If you're good, you could have taken that up. But personally, I think I could have counted that as a loss, or I would have gotten out because of the fact of a 4 went down. Okay, so maybe you say you fancy the downs more. Which is support's all the way here, support's all the way here, support's all the way here. Okay, support. So kind of a bad example of what I'm trying to say, but let's say you took it up over here, you're in the green. Now you can decide to get out because the bias has changed. Last time I was pointing down, this is pointing down. I'm ready for a down. Okay guys, this is beautiful for a down, I think. Okay, and I'm sure it would have gone back down. I think this is enough information for what she's trying to say. Basically, what we're doing, sum this up. Look at your bias. This is all your bias right here. Okay. The direction of the road and the last arrow. So right now our bias is down because it's end of session. Okay, I don't want to get too complicated. Our bias is let's go over here. Our bias is up and down. Okay, over here our bias is up and down. All you're looking for is your resistance and your support. Is it 3 pips away from resistance and support? And is your bias letting you go up or down? That's it. Okay, that's it in a nutshell. Hope this video has been helpful. Bebe, I sure hope this made sense. Of course it made sense. I sure hope this made sense to everyone else. Bebe, I sure hope I did this correctly. If not, don't be shy to let me know. Just tell me. And by the way, you did a fantastic job today on the recording, on the coming on today. So you've been a massive help. I was reading the chat row just recently, and that's the fastest chat row I've ever seen. I'll give you an example. I was halfway through the chat row, and it was still talking about how thankful people were for you and that's halfway through the whole chat roll, through the whole day. Alright, and you're only on for a few minutes, so just to give you kind of a recap of how thankful people were. Alright, so this is the chat row. My scroller was here, and messages were about how thankful people were, and it's just rows of thankfulness. Okay, so lots of thanks from people. Guys, I hope this video's made a little bit of sense. We will most likely have a part 2, which is more advanced. Demo this, it'll make sense. If you're dedicated, you do 6.5 hours a day. And yeah, I hope it's made sense, guys. Benne JMT is out. I will see you guys all later. Ciao, guys. Oh, P.S. This is a picture of a boat. This is where we're gonna be in just a matter of a few months. Okay, it's a 500